guys, welcome! In this video, we'll dive into the detailed skill analysis of Sunlight, the next hero class coming in ROM. Harnessing the regen power of the sun, Sunlight is a mainly physical hero class that is capable of unleashing immense bursts of damage to her enemies. We already had our first look at Sunlight and showcased her deepest prowess in my previous videos. This time, we'll explore her skill mechanics and analyze her pros and cons in both PvE and PvP. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. First, Sunlight's core passive skill, Child of the Golden Sun, grants her the ability to gain solar power stacks, which play a crucial role in boosting her combat power. Each stack increases her pen, MP, and healing bonus by 0.7%. It can stack up to 100 times with a duration of 30 seconds per stack. At 7/7 core passive, the stack limit is raised to 200, granting a total of 140% pen, 140% MP, and 140% healing bonus at full stacks. This amount is more than enough to pierce through monsters' physical damage reduction in PvE instances, hence there's no need to invest heavily in physical penetration for PvE. There are 3 ways to generate solar power stacks. First is through the Sunlight Wheel passive skill, where Sunlight gains stacks passively every second. However, this effect does not start if the stack is 0, so she needs to either attack once or cast the Sunlight's Blessing skill to initiate the passive accumulation of stacks. By default, Sunlight Wheel generates 1 stack per second, but this can increase to 3 stacks per second when equipped with her signature weapon. The accumulation speed is low at first, but it increases rapidly as she gains more stacks. Thus, to quickly max out the stacks before combat, you'll need to cast Sunlight's Blessing 2 times to reach 200 stacks in about 28 seconds. The second way to gain stacks is by attacking using her kick skills, Sunlight Crash and Path of the Sun. Each skill cast generates 5 stacks and activates passive accumulation. This speeds up the stacking process while simultaneously dealing damage. The third way of gaining stacks is by activating the Scorching Realm ultimate skill. Upon use, it locks the current solar power stacks, preventing both gain and loss of stacks. After Scorching Realm ends, 1 to 20 stacks will be restored depending on her rune. Effective management of solar power stacks is essential for maximizing Sunlight's damage potential and ensuring her optimal performance in battle. Up next, let's take a look at Scorching Realm, which is Sunlight's ultimate skill. When solar power reaches maximum stacks, Sunlight automatically enters the Scorching Realm state. However, at 7/7 core passive, the automatic activation is removed, allowing you to manually cast it as long as she has at least 50 solar power stacks. Upon activation, Solar Realm deals a huge burst of AoE damage and turns Sunlight's hair color to Super Cyan Yellow. While in this state, she gains powerful buffs, making it a key part of her kit. She becomes immune to abnormal statuses, gains 50% more skill damage, and receives a 30% increase in movement speed that cannot be reduced. During this time, her solar power stacks are locked, meaning they will neither increase nor decrease, and some of her skill gains additional effects. If her core passive reaches 4/7, she gains a significant survivability boost as it prevents fatal blow once, fully restoring her HP and granting a 1-second immunity to damage. Once Scorching Realm ends, she regains up to 20 stacks depending on her rune. This buff is extremely powerful as it significantly boosts damage and survivability. However, proper timing is crucial as it only lasts for 12 seconds, after which she enters a 3-second weakened state, preventing her from attacking. Since the cooldown is fixed at 21 seconds, this means that there is a 9-second window where Sunlight is weak and cannot re-enter the Scorching Realm state. During this downtime, she must quickly accumulate at least 50 solar power stacks to be ready for the next activation. You must carefully decide whether to trigger Scorching Realm immediately at 50 stacks or continue stacking further to gain more physical pen before activation. Knowing when to activate it for either burst damage or survivability will be key to fully unleashing Sunlight's potential. Next, let's take a look at Sunlight's damaging skills. First up is the Sunlight Crash, which is a short-range kick skill. At first, it deals a single instance of burst physical damage to a nearby target. After 0.5 seconds, it explodes, dealing the same amount of damage to all enemies within a 3-meter radius around the target. When in Scorching Realm, the radius extends to 6 meters, making it an even more powerful AoE attack. The Tier 5 effect of her signature weapon enhances this skill's impact further by converting the initial single target damage into AoE damage. Additionally, its damage can be increased by 50% with the corresponding star rune. When solar power reaches 80 stacks, it completely ignores the enemy's physical defense. The only downside of Sunlight Crash is that it has a 4-second variable cast time, meaning it can be affected by cast time debuffs such as Sandstorm and Oracle, and Senile Affix and Airship. Next we have Path of the Sun, which is a long-range kick skill. It deals 5 ticks of physical damage to a distant target. When in Scorching Realm, the number of damage ticks is increased to 10, significantly enhancing her burst potential. Although each damage tick has a relatively low physical attack multiplier, its damage scales with movement speed thanks to the related S rune, which grants up to 2% additional damage for every 10% movement speed. Thus, at 200% movement speed, this translates to a 40% damage increase. Furthermore, when solar power reaches 60 stacks, Path of the Sun provides a 50% chance to dodge physical and magic damage for 1 second, making it a valuable skill for both offense and defense. Next is Solar Vigor, which is a passive that enhances Sunlight's kick skills by applying extra damage. For example, if Path of the Sun deals 10 ticks of damage in Scorching Realm state, Solar Vigor will apply 10 ticks of extra damage. Although these damage ticks have a lower physical attack multiplier, its damage calculation always takes the lower value of the enemy's defensive stats. For instance, if the enemy has the following stats, its damage calculation will only factor in 80% for defense, 90% for damage reduction, and 35% for refined damage reduction. Furthermore, Solar Vigor cannot be dodged or blocked. This means even if all 5 damage ticks of Path of the Sun is evaded by a high fleet target or blocked by Light Shield, it will still apply the extra damage from Solar Vigor 5 times. Sunlight's last source of damage is Solar Flame Shower, which is a continuous skill that can be turned on when solar power reaches 40 stacks. Upon activation, it consumes 1 solar power stack per second, inflicting Solar Vigor damage and HP loss damage to all enemies within a 5-meter radius. Against MVPs or minis, it deals a fixed amount of HP loss instead. Over time, Solar Flame Shower's damage will become higher and higher, but so does its stack consumption rate. Once the solar power consumption rate becomes too high, it's best to activate Scorching Realm to lock the stacks, preventing further depletion. If all solar power stacks are consumed, or if the skill is manually turned off, it enters a 12-second cooldown before it can be used again. Aside from dealing damage, Solar Flame Shower also grants a 1% to 5% lifesteal effect depending on the rune. This adds an extra layer of survivability, particularly if you don't have a Cobalt Leader card. Next, let's take a look at Sunlight's buff skills, which can improve her damage output. First is Sunlight's Grace, which converts Sunlight's attack attribute based on a chosen element for 5 minutes. This eliminates the need for elemental converters and Priest Aspersia. It also has an auto-switch type toggle wherein Sunlight's attack attribute automatically adjusts based on a target's elemental weakness for 5 seconds after attacking. However, if the enemy's armor element is neutral, her attacks will remain neutral as well. When attacking multiple targets, her attack attribute will be randomly converted to one of the counter elements. This option is more suitable in PvP since the enemy's elemental armors are not obvious. With the related S rune, Sunlight gains up to 60% elemental damage bonus corresponding to the selected element. However, when auto switch type toggle is selected, this bonus effect is halved. Next, we have Sunlight Ritual, which changes the current map's weather to sunny after a 1-second fixed chanting time. During sunny weather, all units that are of dark or undead element or belong to the undead or demon race will receive 35% more damage from everyone, including those which are not teamed with sunshine. If both conditions are met, the damage bonus will remain at 25% as it does not stack. For Sunlight, sunny weather significantly boosts her damage against monsters, increasing by 1% for every solar power stack she has. At 200 stacks, this means her damage is tripled. Sunny weather lasts for 15 seconds, but can be maintained as long as Sunlight remains in Scorching Realm state or has at least 100 solar power stacks. Thus, you have an option whether to preserve 200 stacks without using Scorching Realm to sustain sunny weather, or activate Scorching Realm for stronger burst damage but lose the weather effect afterwards. Next is a Clear Sky passive, which grants team-wide buffs whenever the weather is sunny. First, it grants continuous HP recovery for teammates, restoring 1% of each teammate's max HP per second. This amount is affected by Sunlight's healing bonus and their own healing bonus. And second, it grants Sunlight's teammates the effect of 20 solar power stacks, which is equivalent to 14% physical and magic penetration and 14% healing bonus. This means having Sunlight in the party can give her team a boost in sustain and damage output. And last is the Mind-Eye Vision passive, which grants 3 distinct effects. First, it grants Sunlight immunity to darkness status, which is useful against Mora. Second, when Sunlight deals damage to an enemy, she gains True Sight effect on that enemy for 5 seconds. However, this does not remove the hiding status, meaning she can see the enemy but not reveal them to allies. And third, allotting points on Dex will increase her physical attack by 5 and hit rate by 1. Lastly, aside from her damage-enhancing buffs, Sunlight also has powerful defensive skills to improve her survivability in battle. First is Sunlight's Blessing, which is her primary HP recovery and damage reduction buff. When activated, Sunlight channels for 5 seconds, during which she cannot move. This channeling cannot be interrupted even by strong crowd control effects like Black Hole, but you can choose to cancel it manually by tapping the skill again. While channeling, she recovers 10% of her max HP per second and gains 90% final damage reduction, which can reduce all types of damage, including HP loss damage. With a related star rune, the damage reduction effect will last for an additional 0.1 to 2 seconds after the buff ends. You can channel Sunlight's Blessing even while in Scorching Realm, as it will not reduce Scorching Realm's remaining duration. Another key defensive ability is Sunlight's Protection, which is a passive skill that blocks 99% of either physical or magic damage depending on which you choose, in exchange of 1 solar power stack. However, this effect can only be triggered once every 0.5 seconds, so it is less effective against damage sources that have high attack frequency. However, during Scorching Realm, the 0.5 second interval is removed and it won't consume solar power stacks, allowing Sunlight to continuously block attacks. To summarize, Sunlight offers a unique blend of strengths both in PvE and PvP. First, Sunlight excels in both burst and sustained DPS, making her a versatile damage dealer. Her damage increases exponentially at full solar power stacks and can deal heavy burst damage during Scorching Realm. In PvP, she can counter high flee and high defense targets with Solar Vigor's unblockable damage. Second, Sunlight has built-in elemental conversion, removing the need for elemental converters or priest aspersion. Sunlight's Grace allows her to change attack attribute, making her effective against all enemy types. The auto-switch type toggle ensures she always attacks with the best counter element in PvP. And third, Sunlight has multiple skills for survival that allows her to last long in combat. Sunlight's Protection passively blocks 99% of either physical or magical damage every 0.5 seconds, which has no cooldown in Scorching Realm state. Sunlight's Blessing grants 90% final damage reduction and 10% max HP healing per second, making her extremely tanky when timed correctly. At 4/7 core passive, she gains immunity to death and full HP recovery when entering Scorching Realm, giving her a second life. But of course, Sunlight still has some shortcomings that you should consider. First, Sunlight's damage and survivability heavily depend on solar power stacks, making her weaker when stacks are low. Scorching Realm has a 21-second cooldown but lasts only 12 seconds, leaving a 9-second window of vulnerability where she must regenerate stacks. If she misuses Scorching Realm, she may struggle to deal damage or survive in critical moments. In addition, activating Solar Flame Shower consumes stacks quickly, requiring careful timing. Second, Sunlight's defensive abilities have limitations, making her susceptible to certain PvP matchups. When not in Scorching Realm, she struggles against classes that constantly inflict abnormal statuses and have high attack frequency. This because her Sunlight's Protection passive can only block one type of attack every 0.5 seconds, making her vulnerable in large-scale team fights. She is also weak against classes that have Black Hole effect since it can remove her solar power stacks and all her buffs. And third, Sunlight is not beginner-friendly due to her complex skill rotation and timing-dependent buffs. Scorching Realm's 3-second weakened state makes her vulnerable after using it, requiring careful positioning and disengagement. Managing Sunlight Ritual's sunny weather and stacking solar power properly is crucial for maximizing damage, making her more difficult to master for casual players. In conclusion, Sunlight is an extremely powerful DPS with high damage, sustain, and versatility, making her a top-tier choice in both PvE and PvP. However, her stack management and timing requirements make her difficult to master. Players who enjoy high-skill, resource-dependent classes will find Sunlight a rewarding class to play in PvE and PvP. How about you guys? Do you think Sunlight will be part of the meta? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be releasing a full guide on her PvE DPS build in another video, so stay tuned for that. Please note that the actual content may vary from what is presented in this video. Alright, that's it for this video guys. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed watching this guide. If you're new here, I would love you to consider subscribing by hitting the subscribe button down below. I would love to have you back. Thank you for watching and see you in our next episode.